So with a quarter of the Premier League season gone, or there or thereabouts, I think it's a good time to have a quick assessment of the squad and check what changes are needed as we start to approach the January transfer window. Welcome to your Forest News. Good morning, evening, or night. Hope you guys are doing well wherever in the world you're watching from, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about, well, the upcoming assessment of the squad, if you like. What needs changing? Who needs to be sold? What players need to be brought in? And should we be recalling any players? Hope you guys are doing well. As always, please hit that like button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you are new. What I want to do, I want to jump in first and start talking about the players that I think need to be sold. Okay, so in this segment, I'm going to kind of cover off two of the points: players that need to be sold and the centre-back issue that I feel we have. So we can kind of put them in together. What do I mean by the centre-back issue? We got too many. We got way too many. It seemed to me like when we recruited in the summer, the recruitment for the centre-backs was more so with a 3-back in mind. If it wasn't, then I don't know why we've got so many. But as we've seen the emergence of the likes of Murillo, Boly looking like an absolute rock, it's clear to see that Cooper finally is adopting a back four formation. And I think with that in mind, we do need to free up some slots in the defensive area so that we can put them over on this side, the attacking area, because we are seriously thin right now. And there are other players that I think maybe it is time for us to move on. Let me know from this squad in the comments below, who would you look to move on and who would you look to keep? So I'm going to start with a couple of names. Maybe some will be controversial for you. Maybe you'll agree. I don't know. But number one for me is going to have to be McKenna. McKenna, I would probably put him ranked number 5 or 6 in our centre-back hierarchy at the moment. I do think he's better than Worrall, I'll be honest with you guys, but I don't think he's got the pace of the Premier League. And as I mentioned with the likes of Murillo there, Awoniyi set to break through at some point, Kate, Felipe, etc. Is there really much room for McKenna in the squad right now? So for me, he's one of the first ones I would be looking to move in January. And I'm going to be controversial, and I know it'll upset a few, but I've got to be honest. I'm going to put Joe Worrall in there as well. Too many mistakes for me. I've been worried about him since the start of last season. And after the game against Luton, it's just showing to me that he hasn't quite got what it needs for the Premier League currently. Maybe he can develop. Maybe he needs a move. Just to really kind of let him settle back down. I know there's the whole he's one of our own, born and bred, but this is the Premier League and we do need to be a bit more ruthless when it comes to making these decisions. So for me, from the defensive side, we have to get rid of 2 centre-backs. Now, if you agree with me on that sentiment, that we do need to remove 2 and you don't want to get rid of Worrall, who would you get rid of instead? I think Awoniyi's got a great future ahead of him. So is Murillo. Kate with those throw-ins with his leadership skills is fantastic. And as I said, Boly has emerged. I think the only other question we really have to ask ourselves is about Felipe. Is it worth moving Felipe on if he's going to be so injury prone this season and we're not going to see him? My honest answer is no. One, Felipe can be used as an experienced player, a leader within the ranks at Nottingham Forest, especially with the likes of Murillo being there. They will need some guidance. And with Felipe not having long left on his contract, we wouldn't get a value for him anyway, or if anything at all. And therefore, we may as well just keep him. That would reduce us down to, what, 5 centre-backs if we put Montiel more so in this bracket. And I think 5 centre-backs is more than enough at the moment for Nottingham Forest, especially with the style we play. It means you've always got 2 to 3 backups pending injuries, of course, who can step in. And I think for me, that's enough. Do you guys agree with the centre-backs or not? Just to add as well, we do need to get rid of some of the excess keepers. With Lacademos and Turner there, I think Horvath and Hennessy need to be moved on in the January transfer window. We still got Shelvey, who looks like he's got some potential about him. I don't think he went out on loan, so he's still training with the squad. Therefore, he could step in and be that number 3 goalkeeper. And behind Turner and Vlachodimos, I think that's more than enough. 5 currently is way, way too many. So those 2 keepers for me need to be moved on. Now, in terms of the fullbacks, I don't know. Biancone we can kind of get rid of. He's still away on loan currently, so he's not too much of an issue. He'll be more a summer problem. In terms of the rest of them, you've kind of got 2 in each position. 2 to 3 in each position. You got Montiel and Aurier, who are out and out right backs or right wing backs. And then you've got Tavares and Tuffalo, who are left-sided fullbacks. With Einar and Williams, you then have the utility players, if you like, who can play on both sides. Now, do we need that many? Remember, Omar Richards is away on loan with the Greeks, so he will come back. So technically, and Biancone, so technically, we've got 8. So is it time to move them on? Maybe we should look to sell Omar Richards and Biancone, seeing that Cooper has no interest in them. But I still think we may have one too many when it comes to fullbacks. And it would probably have to be, you'd probably have to look at it and think, what could generate the most money for us out of these? Well, the most expensive one seems to be Nico Williams. I'm not fully hell-bent on selling him, but if he could raise, remember, he cost us 17.5 million. If we could get like 15 million for him, something like that, I don't think it's a bad shout because I've been really impressed with Einar. Tuffalo stepped back in and looks quite good. And 15 million could go a long way currently to help us fund the changes we may need. What do you guys think on that? Now, moving into the midfield, to be honest, I like most of our midfielders. The only one who I think is getting past it is Cheick Kouyaté. So Cheick Kouyaté for me needs to come off. He's 33 years old now. He looks very leggy. I don't think he should be used in the Premier League. I don't know how much we would get for him. He hasn't got long left on his contract anyway, so you could argue it's the same concept as Felipe. We wouldn't get anything for him, but is it worth moving him on just to maybe save a few pounds on the wages, for example? So I'd put Cheick Kouyaté in there. They're the main 4 plus the 2 goalkeepers that I'd look to move on. Now, obviously, in terms of strike force, we are very, very weak there. We've only got Taiwo, who's injured, and obviously Chris Wood as your out and out number 9s, and Divock, who looks like he's going to be going back to AC Milan. It doesn't look like Forest want to trigger that option to buy on his contract. Whether or not you believe those rumors, I don't know yet. I haven't had them verified enough, but that is the talk that's going around currently. So if we were to get rid of these 4 players who all hold one of the 25-man squad positions, that would free us up some space. But how do we fill those spaces? Okay, so the easiest way and the cheapest way to do this would potentially to be to recall some players back to Nottingham Forest. Now, this obviously will depend on what their loan contract situation is. But the one that springs to mind straight away would be Lewis O'Brien. Bringing him in as a direct replacement for Cheick Kouyaté, I'm convinced Lewis O'Brien has more to offer the squad than Cheick Kouyaté. So that would be one thing we could do. And as we freed up 3 defensive areas, I think these positions need to be moved higher up the pitch so that we can get some more attacking players in. So potentially you could look again at your loan players that have gone out. The likes of Dennis, the likes of Scarpa could come back in and just bolster our attacking side of play completely for free. The problem is we haven't really got too much in terms of 9s out there. Now, a few people may say, Hwang, I don't think he's quite cut out for the Premier League. And this is where these funds will come into use in the January transfer window, as I think we need to buy a new number 9. Not a 9 to replace Taiwo, but someone who's going to really push him. I don't see Wood as the long-term, holder of that 9 shirt. And I don't see Divock as having lit up the City ground as of yet. So I think a new number 9 is going to have to come into play. Now, who could that number 9 be? Well, we've done a video the other week or so about those Brazilians that were linked. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. We'll put a link on the end screen for you guys. So one of those would be a viable option. And the other one, of course, would be Batshuayi, who has been heavily linked to Forest over the last 2 or so windows and wouldn't cost us an arm and a leg. And of course, there's the hottest striker in Europe right now from the Bundesliga who Forest are linked to, and it would cost us about £17 million. Again, we've done a full video on him last week. But we do definitely need a striker, but we can't just keep spending and spending and spending and bloating the squad up more and more and more, because at the moment we have way too many players. So I think this January transfer window, it will be really important to create more of a balance in the squad. What do you guys think? Okay, so let me just kind of explain the logic to you guys here. Why these players, in fact, let's just bring them back up on the screen, are the ones that should be sold. Believe it or not, McKenna is worth between 8 and 10 million, and Worrall is worth somewhere between 9 to 12 million. And Williams could push a price of 15 to 20 million as well. That in itself would generate us nearly £40 million. And 40 million could get you a decent striker in this current market. Maybe a young up-and-comer, something like that, with a good reputation we could afford. Now, can we attract him to the City ground or not? Obviously, that's a different question in itself. But this is where I see the balance coming from. Because if we were to get rid of these 3 or 4 players, generate that much money, bring a striker in and then recall some of our attacking loan players, Scarpa, Dennis, etc., then that really would give us a bit more of a balance on this side of the pitch, as in the guys behind me, rather than the defensive side. Is it a bit risky? Maybe. But would you guys take 40 million for these 3 players plus Czech Kyoto? Let's just say Czech Kyoto goes for £1 million or whatever he's worth. You know, that's good money to upgrade the team. And look what we did with the Brennan Johnson money and how many players we were able to bring in off the back of that. Am I barking up the wrong tree, guys, or not? Let me know what you think. And who would be the players that you would look to move on this window? That's the important question, because we definitely need some squad balance. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want more in-depth analysis on those strikers that were linked to Forest, make sure you click here and go check that video out if you haven't seen it already. And until the next video, we'll see you then. And come on, you Reds.